potential. Baby, that's a 50-50 chance you taking. And are you willing to take a chance with your children, your pocketbooks? Because potential ain't never got money. All they got is that good bum dick. Orlando was the bottom. These were my hardest days, and sometimes in Orlando, I actually wondered whether I was going to starve to death. For a while, I thought I was dealing with malnutrition. I worried plenty. I went to live with a lady who rented out rooms, and when I had the money, I paid her $3 or $4 a week. Work was tough to come by. Bands were stranded everywhere I looked. Musicians were coming out of the woodwork. Yeah, times were dismal. A couple of days might pass without me having a meal, and now there was no one around. No Mama, no Mary Jane, no Lena May to put something in my stomach. It was me all by myself, getting a feel for what being busted was all about. Y'all, it was a time that I thought me and my wife wasn't going to make it. I'm not going to lie. There's still times that I feel like me and my wife are not going to make it. But there is nothing more scary than being miles, hundreds of miles away from your family and not having no support. I had to learn or relearn survival again down here in Georgia. Now I'm making it, okay? But feeling like you are 100% alone with no support, baby, is more scarier than you could ever imagine in your life. If I can give you no other advice, because I done said a couple of things, that I'm sure you have picked up when I put it down. Never allow somebody to convince you to leave your family, to move somewhere with them, and they're the breadwinner, and you don't have no way to support yourself. This was when I had to dig down and see what was really going on inside me. Mama had said many a time, just keep yourself clean and use what you got. Well, I had a shirt, a pair of pants, some shoes, underwear, and socks. The rest was all in my fingers, my chest, my lungs, and mostly in my mind. So I worked around Orlando alone with myself, looking for any kind of work I could find. I didn't know many people. And like I said, the competition among musicians were ferocious. I made my way around town using the same methods I learned in Tallahassee and Jacksonville. When you have shortcomings, baby, like myself, you absolutely find ways to make things happen. Y'all, I could not see and I refused to wear glasses. So I would go to class every day, especially math class, every day in college. Sit there, watching the teacher blurrily, watch the teacher write formulas on the board, and my glasses were too thick and I was so young and vain. All right. I couldn't allow Mother Hunchies to use, even though we're in college, kids are still very mean. Okay. So anyway, what I had to do was teach myself when I got home. I made sure I knew what chapters we were learning, but baby, even if it took me all night, I taught myself. If the teacher was writing something on the board, oh baby, I couldn't see shit in college. Not until I went back to get my second degree did I start wearing, contacts. But I'm telling you, those years that I was too vain to wear my glasses was rough. And I had to figure out a way. What he would do with crosswalks, he would wait to listen for women. And he would maneuver himself in the middle of women and children so that he could cross safely. I spent my days and nights hanging out in the club, searching for jam sessions and asking everyone I met if they'd heard of a job where I could play. Oh man, this was some slow moving shiz. Eating almost became a luxury. When I could get a little bread together, I'd buy a can of sardines and maybe some soda crackers. That and a glass of water became my dinner. Or maybe a couple of cats and me would chip in and cop a 6-cent bag of beans. We'd get hold of some fatback, throw the beans in a pot, add a little salt, a little pepper, and to us, that'd be a banquet. I'm not sure what kept me going. There wasn't a lot of hope for a brighter future. I suppose I just didn't have any choice. The idea of selling pencils wasn't too appealing. Here and there, small jobs started to trickle in, just enough to keep me from literally starving to death. You also got to remember I was a kid, just 16, and I had lots of stamina, at least enough to get me through those lean times. Let me say this. When I was young, I would be like, why can't I be a part of a family that is, easier? Why do I have to work so hard in my family when that little boy, or little girl, things are just given to them? Why do they have to jump? Why do I have to be to jump out there and have so much? She ain't got to take her little sister with her everywhere, her mama home, And it causes resentment when you go through tough times. But baby, later on in life, I tell you, you be so much happier, so much stronger than the average child could ever be. Okay? Because motherfuckers be crumbling as an adult. And it's because their childhood was so soft and luxurious. But those of us who know what it's like to grow up tough, man, getting through hardship, that's nothing to us. That's easy work. Somewhere along the line, I met a tenor player named Joe Anderson. He had a big band which worked the Sunshine Club. Joe gave me a few gigs, and that was really my only small break in Orlando. Anderson was something like a black Woody Herman. He wasn't the greatest instrumentalist, but he had charisma as a leader, and he always recognized and appreciated musicianship. Joe's band was like Henry Washington's back in Jacksonville. It was a good outfit, even though it might not have been known outside the area. Lots of guys were getting out of the Army around then, and Florida was flooded with excellent players. Orlando was a down period for all kinds of reasons, and the lack of bread, the kind you munch and the green kind, was just one of them. Another heavy experience really dragged me down into the dumps. And even telling you about it now, some 30 years later, doesn't make me very happy. Lucky Millinder is a big name in the music business in 1946. And one day he and his band happened to blow into Orlando for a gig. Some cats suggested that I go over and audition for him. Baby, I'm ready. I've been listening to Lucky for years, and I like his sound. His band's got a real snap. I also like Sister Rosetta Tharpe, who's singing with him back then. Humility, man. I got so much respect for Ray Charles, baby. I'm telling you something good, baby. I'm telling you something good. And considering all that he has been through, I'm not condoning tying one off. That's not what I'm condoning. What I'm saying is, when you live your life in such a strong place, you're allowed to have weaknesses. But anyway, he went to go audition for the dude. And the dude said to him, "You're not good enough." Oh, that broke his heart. You hear me? That, oh my God, that mutilated him because he's like, "I'm not good enough. What the hell?" But later on, he understood. Lucky wasn't mean, just matter of fact. And that almost made it worse. It didn't bother me so bad that I went back to my room and cried my eyes out for days. I met Lucky again years later after I had done some things on my own and talked about what had happened. He explained his feelings to me in a way which made sense, particularly considering the times. He thought I had potential, but he didn't think I was already there. And in the 40s, potential wasn't good enough. Let me tell you something. Pause in the drawers. Let's put that over there and then put this here. There was a time that men tried to convince us ladies, or, whoever, it's me. It could be a lady or a man, depending on the time of year or the era or the life that I'm leading at that time. But men tried to convince us that dating men that had potential was the way for us to gain relationships. Potential. Baby, that's a 50-50 chance you taking. And are you willing to take a chance with your children, your pocketbooks? Because potential ain't never got money. All they got is that good bum dick. Okay? Your housing, your job, because you're sacrificing a lot of things when you're dealing with someone that just has potential. Potentially, that shiz can go really wrong or really, really good. Are you willing to take a chance on potential? In the same regards that man, Mr. Lucky, said to Ray Charles, you had potential, baby, but you ain't good enough now. I ain't even mad at Mr. Lucky. I ain't even mad at him. I ain't got time to be waiting on potential when there's a motherfucker out there right now that's ready. I was pretty crazy at 16. And if you need any proof, just listen to what I did when I was finally able to rub a couple of dimes together. I didn't run out and buy a mess of food. No, nothing practical like that. Instead, I got me a record player right there in Orlando in the midst of the worst economic depression of my life. I figured that was all the nourishment I needed. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful, baby. That means you are a true artist. Among the vocalists of the time, I continue to follow Ella Fitzgerald. For me, she's always been in a category by herself. A musician so good that even non-musicians appreciate her. I liked Sarah Vaughan too, and had great admiration for her range. Sarah was singing with Eckstein back then, and as I said, Mr. B's band turned me around several times. He had Gene Ammons, Dexter Gordon, Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie, and Fats Navarro. It was a complete gas. And of course, Billie Holiday always destroyed me. Billie could sing her ass off any given night of the week. And I remember back during the 40s how her versions of Hush Now, Don't Explain stopped me dead in my tracks. I couldn't listen to it enough. It made a lasting impression inside my brain. The woman was a natural, always her own, strange self. Orlando was no high point in my love life. Aside from my extravagance on the record player, I led a Spartan existence and barely had enough greens to feed Ray, never mind any females. I had been hearing cats talking about going down on chicks, child. That's crazy. That's crazy to me. Giving them the whopper or whatever the hip term happened to be in 1946. I hadn't done it yet, and to me it seemed disgusting. What did I know? I was still fresh out the country. Well, the more talk I listened to, the more curious I became. I heard how some chicks actually gave you BJs, but I wasn't about to have it done to me until I was ready to reciprocate the favor. Anyway, he ran into a bitch that had time and patience for his ass. Okay. You know what, y'all told me that Ray Charles did talk about his conquests a lot. Now I see what you're talking about. Not that I mind, because remember Ricky James' book was like this too. But yeah, yeah, some of these things he could have held on to that. He could have put that shit over there. A year in Jacksonville, a year in Orlando. Time for a change. I was all of 17 years old and figured I'd make out okay. What I didn't figure on, though, was falling in love.